This conference will now be recorded.
Get into the Turner change orders. Tim, I'm assuming you're with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
All right. So, yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I'm sorry. All right. So the first change order for tonight is COR 257. This is in relation to RFI 512 over in Phase 3A, the CMU walls. So in Phase 3A, there are existing tunnels to remain, as well as some CMU walls that go over some concrete plank over the top of the boiler room in the girls' locker room, the existing girls' locker room. We had asked an RFI 512 regarding the conditions of supporting the walls that are above it. The RFI came back with additional reinforcement that was required in those walls, both vertical and horizontal reinforcement, to be able to structurally make those walls sound over the top of those tunnels and the empty space below it. So this change order is totaled at $15,575.
So moved. Len Petroselli.
Thank you, Mr. Petroselli. Is there a second?
Second, Bob Shalou.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shalou. Any further questions, comments, discussion concerning this change order? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Tim, continue with 258.
Change order 258 in reference to RFI 513. This is over in that same area where we have a stair that's being constructed down into the boiler room over on the, let's call it the northeast side of building C to remain. The drawings have a steel beam going across that area. There was an RFI asked about that. It was changed to a wall underneath stair G from the basement level up. So it's taking out the steel beam and adding in the CMU. Total change order is $4,456.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Len Petroselli.
Thank you, Len. Is there a second?
Second, Bob Shalou.
All right, excellent. Thank you both. Any questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Tim, 259.
And finally, this is the last change order, COR 259. This is the removal of a transite pipe that was found in the south parking lot through the excavation process. This was done by the oversight of the hygienist. Total change order here is $3,896.
I'll move it. Len Petroselli.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you both. Motion made, seconded. Any further questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously, and I believe that concludes us with Turner items for this evening. Correct, Tim?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. As always, good deal keeping these under our town council limit, so we'll be able to get these through building needs this evening and keep you guys moving forward. So thank you for that. And then I believe I'm now going to turn it over to Paul Drummy from CREC for a series of FF&E items. Paul?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. So our first item tonight is for additional PE and music furniture for 2 staff members. We have the red thread quotation 767151 in the amount of $3,357.05. Any questions?
And this is just furniture requested by staff that wasn't originally included when we first did the FFE package a few years ago at this point.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
if I could jump in real quick. With the
Sure thing,
increasing
Principal Delapiano.
Thank you. With the increasing enrollment at Stratford High School, there are a few requests today for additional staff members, which were added last year, and more that will be added next year, as well as student tables and chairs. Again, we're looking at 1,098 minimum kids next year, with that just growing each year.
Hey, Paul, how many chairs did you say?
That's coming up in a little bit. This is for desk, office chair for 2 staff members, one for the physical education program and one for the music program.
And what was the cost of the 2 chairs?
The chairs, going down. So
The full quote is for 2 teacher stations, chairs and desks.
yeah, so it's item number 1, line number 4 on the red thread quote. So it comes with it's all inclusive, right, Lisa?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So the desk, the chair for $764.98.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this current red thread item before us for the additional PE and music staff furniture in the amount of $3,357.05.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Petroselli, Mr. Shalou. Are there any further questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Paul, continue with the English department mobile bookcases.
Thank you, Chairman. So item number 2 tonight is for additional bookcases for the English department. The chair of the department came forward and made a request through the principal. Principal forwarded the request to CREC, and we did our diligence through the move manager and received the quote for 13 mobile bookcases to be on the back of each English room on the amount of $17,779.
All right, and then in terms of the quantity, I just want to make sure I got the number correctly. That's for 13 mobile bookcases that will be distributed to each English department room.
Yes, sir. Yes, Chairman.
Okay,
Actually,
thank you. Just wanted to...
For clarification, it's the 10 English department teachers and the 3 reading teachers, but they all fall under the same department.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, thank you. All right, and the purposes of moving things along, I'll entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved, Bob Shalou.
Thank you, Mr. Shalou. Is there a second?
Seconded, Jack Delapiano.
Thank you, Mr. Delapiano. Are there any questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Pre-K classroom furniture, Paul?
Thank you, Chairman. So Christine Stitzel had reached out to Patty McKeon, the interior designer for Antonazi, and had a few questions on what was coming as far as the FF&E was involved for the pre-K classroom. There was communication back and forth in Appendix C that it was distributed on Friday. The end result was an add to the originally approved in Salco quote in the amount of $2,856.24.
I'll move it, Len Petroselli. Then I have a question after we get a second.
I'll second it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Petroselli. Thank you, Mr. Shalou on the second. Mr. Petroselli on questions, comments, discussion.
These are all reimbursable?
Lisa,
Are we footing the bill?
so I think there's Lisa, can you chime in here for a moment?
There's no
Sorry, chime in.
specific reason that these should not be reimbursable, but all FF&E items, they have to go through Barbara up at the state when she reviews the change order.
All right,
So
thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So all these items, there's going to be a letter drafted and backup documentation to why we are ordering additional furniture, and we'll put in the enrollment increase and then submit the letter to the state, the letter/argument for why these items should be reimbursable.
Mr. Chair, it's Laura.
Yep.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please. By all means, Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. So it's 17 classrooms that we've approved of English bookshelves. We did not include these in the original scope. And then we have Choral, and then we have the pre-K furniture, which is less, so I guess that's acceptable. But get the additional classroom furniture, I suppose, but did you think that Alpha was bringing their own furniture? I mean, how was this all derived?
So, if I may, this isn't furniture to replace any furniture from Alpha.
Yeah, Alpha's furnished. You want to put more chairs and desks in the rooms, right, Jack?
Yes, it's because the enrollment numbers going up, Mayor Hoydick, and the enrollment's going up, so certain classrooms need certain furniture. It's not every classroom. It's just based on the enrollment of certain classes.
So to that, there's additional classroom furniture in the amount of $13,733.33. You've done $217,000 and change up from bookshelves. I don't understand why this wasn't included.
It wasn't requested at the time of design.
Since the building, since the original design,
So
I can certainly step in and be like,
no, Jack, I've gone through these building renovations before. I know how we sit down with the teachers, the staff, the administrator, the parents, and we go through what the building and the classrooms look like. And so for the teachers not to realize they need bookshelves for their books.
there are bookshelves, but since that they've added classroom libraries to each English room for more independent reading at child's grade level, and there's no place to house those books right now.
You also have a new English department head, correct?
Yeah, but that's kind of irrelevant. I mean, it wasn't her. It's kind of following the lead about the classroom libraries that are going around through the district.
So 60% of this is reimbursable and 40% is coming out of contingency?
So I'm looking to have all this come out of the FF&E budget, which there's money remaining, Mayor.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. So Paul, just to kind of see what you just sort of said in a different way, if these get approved at the 60-40 split, Stratford's end of 40% is going to come from existing funds that are already allocated in the FF&E line item, and no money will come for contingency to cover these costs.
That's right. That's the goal, Chairman.
Okay. No, I think I just want to be clear for everybody, you know, what the plan is for these items at present time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Petroselli.
is this the end of the furniture surprises, I hope?
I hope. I don't know how this tree is going to grow in any more different shapes, that there's going to be more biting at apples. So I think the kind of the enrollment surprises and some of the staffing changes, this is kind of people's, you know, last chances and last opportunity at getting things put into the program before we start turning more space over. What was that? All right. So, are there any further questions, comments, discussions related to the pre-K classroom furniture? So this is the current item before us in the amount of $2,856.24. I'm going to move this to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Paul, as we go through these remaining items, please try to include as much sort of detail as possible, and where needed, have Principal Delapiano, add in his pieces as well.
Sure. Absolutely, Chairman.
All right, on to the music library system.
Okay, so as you know, we 2 months ago we moved the storage containers. The music department heads met us on site to make sure that all the items were marked, and we understood where they were going to go when they returned to the site. They both asked for a tour of the new space. I asked Turner if that was okay. They said yes. So I suited the heads of the department up with PP&E, and I toured their spaces, the choral and band spaces. And during that tour, the choral teacher asked if he was going to have a music library like the music teacher had. So Jack had sent me that email request, and I looked into costing out the exact same library that the music department chair had. So this is that library for the choral storage room.
Okay, and we had initially planned on getting something for the choral person.
So both of these, it's a big system, Chairman, that you would think that all the records in the world probably would have fit in it. But when we were emptying the Connex boxes, the amount of sheet music that both of these department heads have, the choral and the band teachers have, is pretty impressive, to say the least. And certainly would not fit in just that one music library system. So, and he didn't think so. So he had asked Jack to ask me if we could get him something similar. And this is the cost.
And he has two. You have 2 units in the base contract now, or in the base. It's not a base state contract, and you want 2 more units. They're bulk storage systems.
Yes, these are 2 systems. So the cost for 2 systems.
Okay. All right. So is it safe to say that due to some of kind of the putting of items into storage and then realizing how much was in storage, that they to some extent lost track of how much actual sheet music they were going to need to be bringing forward with them?
I think we didn't know how near and dear these were to them. And probably one would have thought that some of this would have been purged, but that is not the case, Chairman. There's not a lick of paper being thrown out.
And talking to Mark and Jeff, sheet music's very expensive. So anytime they purchase sheet music, they keep it. So they have it probably from 25 years of collecting sheet music.
They have it from longer than that, because I played some of that sheet music when I was at Stratford High.
Okay.
5 years ago.
Mr. Chairman,
What's that?
can't we ask them to try to go through it and purge what they don't use? I mean, I just can't believe that they would have that much sheet music, and how much of it gets used.
I mean, just to share a little bit of a quick personal anecdote, I have catalogs and manuals from some special needs teaching programs that are down in my basement that my dear wife hasn't looked at in close to 20 years. But those training manuals are now out of print. If anything's available now, they have you go online and pull them off the cloud. And so to some extent, from personal experience, I kind of have an understanding for educators and their attachment to paperwork, because some of it just, it's available on the cloud, but it's not reproduced in the way that, that it was available, 20 and 25 years ago. So no, I agree with you. I mean, I would think that with, scanning and digital and reprinting, that, that there would be a better way and a way to purge through paper. But like I said, I have some of my own conversations that here at home with what's available and not available on actual physical paper anymore.
You want to get to the cost, and then maybe we can have a better idea.
Sure. The cost on this item is $17,219.58, and again, based on the discussion I heard tonight, it's kind of being called music library for choral storage room, but it sounds to me like both the choral and the general music teacher both have extensive sheet music collections and are going to be needing this additional space.
Also, if I may, we added, since the building opened, a strings or orchestra teacher, so her music will now share the space with that as well.
Okay, so that's an
payment for 1 period a day, but now it's a 3 period a day program, and we're only hoping to grow it even further.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Could I ask Tim or Lisa or Paul where exactly this is all going to be stored? Did we have the plans for this space usage?
So, Chairman, Paul Drummond from CREC. The choral storage room, has space for these units.
Thank you.
So one thing to keep in mind, Jack, that I'm storing, I think, 16 filing cabinets worth of Sister Cities music while this renovation is going on in the lower level of Town Hall. Those are all coming back to you.
Okay.
Do we have room for that?
Maybe not.
We may.
I sense that those 16 files are just going to move from one basement to another.
Paul, do we have room for those files that are in Town Hall right now?
I think we can make do, Ken, and if we remember correctly, we changed one of the double practice rooms to a storage room as well for music and choral. So we did up their storage space. So I'm sure that won't be a problem.
Okay.
I don't know how many. Maybe I could get in the Town Hall basement and see the space, how much space they take up, and then we can make a better decision.
I'll take a picture tomorrow and send it over to you.
Thanks, Laura.
All right.
Do not buy another container for the picture.
Okay, I believe I'm going to be looking for a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Okay, there's.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and that was Bob Shalou and then Petroselli again.
Yep.
All right, just want to keep the record clear here. All right, any further questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Paul, this brings us to English books.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So the next item is English books. I'm scrolling down on my screen to try to find the actual books themselves. The English department head reached out to me with a list of items. These particular books were lost in the move. So she had requested if the project could could buy new ones and replenish the English department's stock of these particular items. So I had the move manager go out to bid and cost these books out. And so
buying books has become part of this project?
one more time, Len.
That says buying books is now part of this construction project?
I don't think normally, Len, this is Jack, but there were quite a few boxes of books that never made it in the first move, and they were not located. We were told they probably went down with the building, but everything was tagged, so we're not really sure. So this was the first place to start. But if there's any action we could take with the previous move manager, I'm certainly willing to go that route as well.
Well, I'm saying, didn't we hired this person so things like this wouldn't happen? Don't they have some responsibility here? Anybody?
Paul, I'll defer to you on that one, Paul.
I will look for the committee's direction on this matter.
I think you need to talk to them, because even when we hired them, there was a lot of us were sitting back and saying that's an awful lot of money for what they're going to do.
And I would also, Paul, if there's a discussion on the agenda for maps, I would defer that until we talk to the move manager or get direction from the committee as well.
Okay.
I'd move to table this until you get back to the move manager and get back to us at the next meeting.
Very good.
And some I'll second the table.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Who made that motion to table?
Mr. Petroselli and I seconded it. And some.
Okay. Excellent. So I'll vote on the motion to table the cost for the English books. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. And this brings us to the next item, additional classroom furniture.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So that this next one is two different requests all into one quote. Jack had reached out and asked for a quote on 12 two-seater desks and 24 classroom chairs. And then there was an additional request for 1 table and 4 classroom chairs to go around that table. So this is for those items for the increased enrollment coming up next year.
And again, just for clarification, if I may, in the original designs, the building was built, I think, for 1,050 Stratford High School students, with the projection to be at 1,098 next year. There is a need to add furniture in some spaces. And that projection only goes up to 1,150 in 2 years.
This is George, and I don't know if this is the time to mention this or appropriate to mention either, but I happen to be involved with the Board of Ed as one of the committee members of how the children are going to get back to school, how students are going to get back to school. And, at the moment, if we are staying in this environment that we're in, the classrooms will be going from 28 to 13. So we might have a real lot of desks left over, at least for a short period of time. And I only throw that up because it might be a timely issue that if we're going to address it now, or I would just hate to buy chairs and desks and then have nowhere to put them because we have all these other chairs and desks that we're looking for places to put them. So I just bring it up for discussion.
Thanks, George. And I'm part of that committee with you, and I appreciate everything you do for it. I just want to caution people that eventually those limitations are going to end on, classroom class size from half to 13 or 14, depending on the class. So we're still going to have shortages at some point.
And George, we could store the desks and chairs with all the sheet music.
Stack the tables against it. It'll prevent wrinkling.
Yeah, don't come back and ask for storage containers, please, for the furniture we just bought.
Mr. Chair, it's Laura again.
Yes, go ahead, Mayor Hoydick.
Is there a way to phase in these purchases and not necessarily purchase them if we don't need them? I mean, we have we have over a year before we have to close out the grant.
It's a good point. Paul, do you want to kind of weigh in on that? Perhaps, spacing out some of these purchases?
We could certainly do that, Chairman, and Mayor Hoydick. That's an option.
I just want to throw in the furniture folks are going to be demobilized after, say, December. So that's one thing to consider with this.
All right.
And just a word of caution again, I'm not trying to just sit here and buy furniture because it's not what I really want to do. But if we have any type of normalcy next year, at the beginning of the year, then we'll have some classrooms without enough seats.
Is this something we have to act on now, or can we wait till the next regular meeting, which is only 2 weeks away?
I don't know, Paul, or Lisa, if you want to talk about how long the furniture order may take. I don't have any problem waiting. So as long as by the first day of school, if we're having the full capacity, which I'm not sure we will, we have what we need.
All right, I move the table.
All right. There's a second on the motion to table.
I'll second that.
Who's that on the second?
Rich Fredette.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fredette. All right, all those in favor of tabling the additional classroom furniture items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. And then, Paul, that brings us to the red thread storage cost.
That's right, Chairman. Our last item of the night, last proposal, quote for tonight, invoice, is the red thread storage cost for the student lounge furniture. The student lounge furniture is in place, so there'll be no more storage costs moving forward, but this is for February, March, April, and May. All 4 invoices totaling $660.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Petcher. Who is that on the second? Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Hanson.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Is any questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. And that'll bring us back to the agenda. Okay, so next, Paul, does that conclude all of the FF&E items to be discussed under agenda item 3?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, that brings us to item 4 on our special meeting agenda, and item 4 is the on-campus athletic field update.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Just a couple brief updates for the committee. We're working through the tree process on what's acceptable to the town. We submitted what was approved by the principal, and the tree warden was hoping for something more native. So we're going to go back and and circle back as a group and try to bring something forward that's agreeable to the town. That's the latest on the trees bordering the athletic field. Any questions?
Paul, will you get us a list of native trees to choose from?
I will.
Thank you.
You bet. Meaning.
Mr. Chair, I got a question. Dan Senft. So
Yeah, Dan.
I thought we had a discussion about this with trees and worrying about leaves blowing into the field, and we were going to look for something that was either a bush or something that was going to cover the area but not interfere with having to blow leaves off the athletic field.
So, Lisa, you want to talk about our meeting a little bit with Jay?
Sure. So we had a meeting with a few people from the committee and with Jay Habansky from zoning and with Antonio DiCamillo from Stantec, and to make sure he's requiring these trees, and they are technically supposed to be deciduous shade trees. At this meeting, we also talked about the netting that's going in the posts around the field, which incidentally, and this is good news, Jay is totally fine with. We can, once they go in, he's not going to be after you to remove them. But we're gonna specify a fine netting, and we're hoping that that's going to really help with the leaves from the tree, the 4 trees that are going in the grassy strip. The netting's 20 feet tall. So we submitted a list. Antonio's preliminary list included a bunch of shorter flowering fruit trees also, or not necessarily fruit, but we had, I think, dogwood and a cherry and, a few other smaller flowering trees. I'll go back through Antonio and I'll ask him to make sure he, redoes this list all native. I think the reason that, and Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, because you were gravitating toward the spire oak tree, and because it had a small diameter probably. So I was.
Yeah, it had the reddish leaves, which kind of goes with our color palette at Stratford High School, and it also had the smaller canopy, more narrow.
Right. So when I go back through Antonio, because he's working on getting us a new list of trees that satisfy Kelly a little bit more, the tree warden, I'll mention that to him. Go for the red fall foliage and the reddish foliage and the small diameter.
So these trees are going to require leaf pickup and cleaning and all of that and blowing around in the fall? And if so, how many are there going to be?
There are 4 trees, 4 deciduous trees.
Work for Public Works.
Well, there's also a thought that if we pick a tree that doesn't grow too tall, the netting that'll be around the field will help prevent leaves from getting on the field.
Yeah, but the netting around the field, the leaves still got to be picked up. Thankfully, they won't have to be chasing them all around, but they still got to be picked up. And I understand you want it to look halfway decent, but let's keep everything in mind while we're doing this.
There are a lot of things that were proposed in that meeting, Lenny, but it has to be they wanted a deciduous flowering. I think we got away from the flowering part tree though. So that eliminates any evergreen.
All right, keep us posted.
Mr. Chair, who was in that meeting again?
Paul can add to it, but I believe it was Paul from Crack, Lisa, I believe, from Antonazzi, Jay Habansky, and then Paul fill in the blanks.
So we have Jack Delpiano, Ken Poison, and Stantec. And George was there as well.
So nobody from the Parks Department, I guess.
That's correct.
Okay. So let's flip it. Why don't we flip it over to Kelly Kerrigan and Chad Esposito and see if they have any suggestions.
Yes, Madam Mayor, that's what we were going to do next. After we got the input from Jay, that was the next step, that it was going to go to Kelly and Chad. Absolutely.
Right, and also John Casey as the clearer of snow and protector of sidewalks.
John doesn't have anything to do with that.
Okay, Paul, does that conclude the update on the on-campus athletic field?
It does not, Chairman. Just really briefly, I just wanted to let the committee understand that I distributed an initial rendering that's being altered as we speak. It's being worked on, tweaked a little bit, so to speak. But I did distribute it last Friday as Appendix I, just so the committee can kind of get an idea of where the markings. But Jack and Tony D'Angelo and Ken Poison were thinking the markings should be for the field. I reached out to Turner to see if it was okay with them to have this be just an owner cost, go skip Turner and all his subcontractors and go straight to field turf, so there can be cost savings to the project. And Tim was agreeable to that, and we thank him for it. That way, something won't get marked up several times before it hits the committee.
All right, excellent. Thank you for doing that.
That's about all I have right now, Chairman.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Paul. So if anyone hasn't looked at that Appendix I as of yet, let's take a look and see if any further discussion on the athletic field comes up at our regular meeting in 2 weeks. That being the conclusion of item 4, item 5 is our motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Mr. Petroselli, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and we are off the clock at 6:16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everybody, if you're on building needs, please stay right here. We're going to start as soon as Eileen is ready to go, and we have quorum.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, hi, this is Ken Poison, 6th District Councilman and Chairman of the Building Needs Committee. I'd like to call the June 15th special meeting of the Building Needs Committee to order at 6:19 p.m. Our second item of business and only item of business is referrals from the Stratford High Renovation Subcommittee, which was just held, and I'll turn it over to Alan Llewellyn, Chairman of that committee. Alan.
Thank you, Chairman Poisson. As you said, Stratford High just met. We ran through some kind of pressing 3 Turner items and a few furniture items. So without further delay, as everything's still fresh in everyone's mind, I'll kind of get right to it. The first Turner item was COR request number 257. This was based on the response to RFI 512 over in the kind of the area where they're working now, that phase, I think it's called the phase 3A space. There are some CMU walls that need to be added in. So we approved that in the amount, and I recommend that we accept this approval in the change in the amount of $15,575.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Len Petroselli.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we were all just on the previous meeting, so hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next item was Turner request number 258. This is based on the response to RFI 513 over at Building C, specifically at Stair G near the boiler room. They need to remove a steel beam and add in CMU wall for structural support. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $4,456.
Lom Nugent, second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next.
The next item was Turner COR number 259. Over in the area where they were recently doing the excavation work, they came across a transite pipe which needed to be removed and handled accordingly. I would move that we accept that cost in the amount of $3,896.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next is our first of several sort of furniture request items that were presented by Paul Drumming from CREC on behalf of various vendors and suppliers. The first of which was for some additional PE and music staff furniture. This is a outcome of the increased enrollment that Stratford High is going to be seeing. I would move that we accept this cost in the amount of $3,357.05.
Lom, second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next item is a request for English department mobile bookcases. These are for the kind of new requirement that basically each English/reading specialist classroom has its own library in it. So this is for a total of 13 units, 10 for the English teachers, 3 for the reading specialists. I would move that we accept this cost in the amount of $17,779.
Lom Nugent, second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next item is for some additional furniture to be added into the pre-K classroom. This was added to the quote by a staff request. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $2,856.24.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Is there any discussion?
Quiet.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next item is for additional music library system for the choral storage room. This will actually be shared between the chorus teacher, the orchestra teacher, as well as the general music teacher. And I would move that we accept this in the amount of $17,219.58.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next.
Before getting to our last item for the evening, I just wanted to kind of report to everybody without explaining and going into detail. There were 2 FF&E items that were tabled, which will be further discussed in 2 weeks at the next regular meeting of both the Stratford High School Subcommittee and also the Building Needs Committee. So that'll bring us to our last item for tonight, which was for some additional storage for the I believe it's for the student room. This was for materials stored by Red Thread from February through May when it was able to be put into its final location. I would move that we accept this cost in the amount of $660.
So second,
Okay, Lisa, can you just clarify what room exactly was that for again?
You're on the storage costs?
Yeah, the one that wasn't needed anymore.
It sounds, I think Paul's talking is,
Oh, you're
The
muted.
student lounge.
The student lounge. Okay. All right. I just heard student room and I was like, that could be anything. I just wanted to clarify it's the student lounge. Okay, thank you.
that makes sense. And I needed help because I actually didn't know, so.
It's all right. It was just a quiz. You both failed.
I couldn't remember if it was student lounge or senior lounge, so I went generic.
There you go. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Is that it, Alan?
And unless Paul and Lisa have any items that I might have missed, I believe that covers all of the business items that were addressed and executed at the Stratford High Subcommittee meeting.
And then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I do have, Mr. Chairman, I do have one question.
Yes, Dan.
With everything that's going on with this virus and specifically the cafeteria, is the Board of Education working on anything that will prevent our kids from being too close? Are we going to be practicing social distancing in the cafeteria, and is that going to create problems with not having dividers, or is there anything that we as a committee need to be concerned about?
So I think we no longer have Jack here with us and also George, but I know they're both on a committee with the Board of Ed that's working on this very thing. And
They have a back to school committee of whether it's going to be just normal, like Jack said, or half and half. They're talking about kids going to school in shifts, busing in shifts, making class sizes half as big as normal. They're trying to be proactive, preactive for any situation that happens. They haven't made any decisions yet. As soon as that committee makes a decision, they're going to bring it. Obviously, the mayor's involved. They'll bring it to building needs, public works, and whatever has to be done. But nothing has been decided at this point in time, as far as I know. Is that correct, Paul?
That's correct.
For a cafeteria application, some of the things I've heard about are you do more of a grab and go or takeout or food delivery to classrooms to help bring down the density in the cafeteria.
Okay. And what's the capacity of the new school?
The school was designed for 1,115 people, including Alpha.
And what did Jack say they have coming in for next year?
I think he's at 1,098 without Alpha. So he's hitting our numbers without Alpha.
He's almost at capacity already then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then he'll be at 1,150 students in 2 years, and that's just based on the 2 years of students that are at flood that are already on their way to Stratford High.
At Worcester.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, Worcester. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dan, we're basically, as the committee has talked about the last couple of meetings, we're basically almost bursting at the seams already. And that's just based on the Worcester population. It doesn't really count officially because you don't know how many kids transfer into town, from other towns or other states even.
Well,
So,
the one thing that concerns me is people bailing out of the city. So I already know, like Stanford, New Canaan, Darien, all those particular areas right now, houses are being sold like crazy from people moving out. And, that'll finally end up making its way down to Stratford, I think, eventually, because it's affordable still. So
Danny, that's already started to happen. I've heard of a couple of houses that have gone for in excess of 10, 12,000 of asking price in Stratford. So exactly what you're talking about is already starting to get underway.
Yeah,
yep.
That's a concern. Anyhow.
Yeah,
But on
I've
the
even
plus
seen
side-
it in New Haven. It's houses are moving.
And on the plus side, Dan, that's what we want is we want people to move to town and, and increase the tax base, and it makes desirable home prices. So there is a plus side to that. The negative side is that the schools do get crowded, but then we have to make other decisions. And that's really on the Board of Ed's side, not us.
Good for our property values, that's for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
For a second.
Second.
And before we adjourn, I'd just like to thank everybody, as always, for your time. Please stay safe. And is everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 6:31 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Aye, guys.